Yeah. Heck dang. Oh, crud. Oh, all
Oh
right.
wait, are we supposed to be wearing pants at this point? Has the recording started?
We said optional. We landed on optional.
Pants are optional today in the fourth and final session of Broken Worlds. I myself am leaving that as an enigma, the nature of my pants. But I'm very excited because today we have four awesome players with us. We have been working on character creation for all of them, and I'm going to be very excited to have them all introduce themselves and their characters. Very first thing I want to cover before we move on is the X card. Since we have new people with us, I'd like to just reiterate and repeat the safety tools that we have in place at the Gauntlet, primarily the X card. So whenever we come across any content that we find uncomfortable in an unfun way, or that takes us out of the game or makes us feel icky, we have the X card available, and we can either say X card out loud, type it in the chat, put an X up with your hands, and we will pause play, figure out what we need to do to make the story healthy for you at that time, and then we will continue on from there. But that's played without judgment, without question. If you play that, we respect each other and trust each other as people above storytellers. So that's in play. Anybody have questions about that?
Nope.
In addition, we have lines and veils in play that we've kind of set up from previous sessions. Some of those include a hard line on sexual assault, violence against children, except for giant golden babies, and torture towards animals, or extended torture on screen towards people. A line means that that's content that we will not have present in the game or story in any way. Veils are something slightly different. Those are things that are okay to have in the story, but we don't want to linger on screen for too long. So like sexual content, right? I think that'd be fine for people to be having sex, but maybe we have them close the door behind them or fade to black or something like that before we go into too much detail. Does anyone have any lines or veils that they'd like to add before we start play?
Now you've got all my grounds covered, so.
Okay, perfect. And again, if these come up during play, we can use the X card. We can have that discussion at any time. Very cool. Okay, so we have 3 returning players here. And I would like each of you to introduce yourselves, since Dave has already kind of created the bones of his character. Then we can do bonds and get everybody tied together once again. So let's start with Daniel. If you want to tell us about your character.
Cube of the 24 correct angles is a servant race, pretty much built like a rhinoceros beetle, but humanoid to an extent. He is a beggar, and basically works any sort of labor or construction. Is very focused on architecture. That's his hobby, what he wants to study. He also has a bit of a history with drinking that really hasn't come up yet. I noticed your goal might come into that, but he doesn't hold liquor well. He's generally a pretty decent person, pretty simple, and is trying to figure out how to minimize the damage of what's going on here. That's it.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks, Daniel. Yeah, do you want to go next, Matthew? Tell us about your character.
Sure thing. My name's Matthew. I will be playing Varric. Varric is a hunter. He is an assassin for hire. He comes from a legacy of a family of assassins, the Dolomir family. He is a bit cheeky, a bit mischievous. He can be a bit rude, but he is also very capable assassin. He's very good with analyzing the situation, finding all the tactical details and things like that. He has mastered the... I don't remember the name of it. But what was the way of the empty fist, open palm, something like that.
24 open palms or something.
Yeah, from Bravagon, the master who we interacted with sessions previous. And basically, he's always on the lookout for a big contract. He's definitely motivated by money. Not the best dude around, but he's good at what he does. So that's Varric.
Love it. And finally, Slade, if you want to introduce your character, and then maybe do a little bit of a recap of our last session, just so we can get everyone on the same page. And then we will talk about Dave's cool character and how we can integrate them into everybody else's lives.
Sounds great. I'll be playing Hildegund, aka Hildy. She is a princess from kind of like a medieval era world who, instead of sort of ascending to the throne, decided that she'd meddle in the occult and somehow transported herself here to throne. She's average height, olive skin, long dark hair. She was selected for her beauty, so she's classically beautiful. But really what you should worry about is that she's gonna get you with her magic. And I can't offer any kind of like sample image, because if you try to Google any of that, you just get nothing but terribly sexist drawings. Yeah, I think that's roughly what Hildy's about. So I guess her goal is to open a key to her world to allow transit between throne and her world. And she thinks that this will shake up the kind of terrible, oppressive, feudal society that she comes from. But we all know what will actually happen is hundreds of demons will run in and eat everyone while they still are alive, so she shouldn't be allowed to do that. If any other characters can stop her, they should try. And last session, we found our heroes walking up to a castle, the castle of Gog Agog, and they were met with some angels who were kind of looked like they were kind of trying to block the building. Epitome and Cube kind of somehow detracted their attention. I think Cube was trying to bluff the way past, and it didn't work so well, so they got chased away, while Varric and Varakir, is it Varakir?
Zorakir.
I'm mixing up Varric and Zorakir. Zorakir and Varric went past the front gate and up to talk to Gog Agog. The combat that happened elsewhere was successful for our heroes, and they returned. And there was a bit of discussion with Gog Agog as to how to save Gog Agog from this threat of a war that's coming. So a messenger was sent basically saying, it's wartime now, it's on, like throwing down the gauntlet. And Gog Agog was thinking, actually, what I need to do is get the heck out of throne. Can you awesome heroes escort me out of here? And they agreed, and we got to some escorting when we had all kinds of hell breaking loose, and there was a big melee, and there were some Thorn Knights who decided that they were going to stop this transfer of Gog Agog, and they were not as good as our heroes. And Gog Agog escaped, and I think that's roughly where we left off. Is that a fair assessment of what happened last week?
Sounds right to me.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think that one of the major kind of goals for the characters was to remove Gog Agog from this triangular war, make it more of a line. I was trying to think of like a two-sided polygon. Those don't exist. But
Binary.
now, this binary war has been reduced from the Trinary War, since they managed to get Gog away. But there's still this binary war between Jagannath and Solomon David. And I'm about to throw you into a situation that's hoping to bring some peace between these two. But before we do that, let's hear from Dave. Tell us about your character.
Hi, I'm Dave, and my character is Camellia. She, or I should say it, is a petal knight, and her character type is the law. Essentially, it was originally designed to be a terracotta type soldier, but it said, no, I'm not going to participate with this, and has been cultivating like a micro garden of herbs and teas and things like that on its shoulders. It wears a wrap made of several fine layers of multicolored fabrics. And essentially, it's on a personal journey to experience the creation and cultivation of as many different kinds of beverages as it can. And it is particularly intrigued by discovering the elusive coffee. The one sad aspect of its life is that it is easily manipulated, especially by salespeople. So while it may have like great depths of knowledge about how exactly to prepare oolong tea grown on this particular mountain, it may buy, sweepings from an old inn thinking it's that particular kind of tea from the mountain.
I love that image. That character sounds super cool. It's always fun to have some more diversity of races, if we can even call them that, in this world. So that's super cool to have Camellia with us. So we're going to turn to bonds for Camellia real quick. I'm going to just spreadsheet foo these a little bit.
It's interesting that we haven't had an angel till now.
Yeah, they're definitely like a really cool and iconic character in the comics. But here's a great opportunity for that. We have 3 bonds in here. If you want to work with those, think of someone that each of those bonds might be applicable for.
So I'm thinking that as much as I find myself probably in shady and unpleasant situations quite by accident, I'm thinking that maybe Varric actually helped me out of a bind once. Maybe Varric didn't even mean to help me, but it was the kind of a situation where maybe our paths crossed, and I was sort of following a really bad lead that was going to lead me, maybe, I don't know, maybe Varric was about to go assassinate a whole bunch of gangsters who were having a particular beverage that I was trying to follow. Maybe a salesman said, maybe if I send him this way or send it this way, it will leave me alone because it'll get killed.
Sure.
That sounds great. Yeah, totally. Imagine there's probably some higher up that I was sent to deal with, but I think Varric, as morally questionable as he is, he would still look to get someone out of a situation when a needless death could be prevented, sort of. And it might have just been a simple tip off or a simple like he wouldn't go far out of his way, but it was enough to keep you alive, I think.
And probably I took that to mean way more than it does to Varric.
Cool.
So a certain character seems unstable and perhaps dangerous. So, I mean, maybe I have a bit of a prejudice against Cube of the 24 correct angles because it's a servant after all. But it's just too perfect and too angular. And one of my rebellions is to become more lifelike and more like an organic structure. And so maybe nothing particular happened, but you just make me uncomfortable.
I was actually kind of hoping you'd arrest me for a drunken disorderly.
See, I was thinking about arresting the princess.
Yeah, and also Slade just mentioned like this thing about like naively releasing Throne on her homeworld. That could be very dangerous and need to be curved.
Well, and maybe too because you only like the one kind of beverage. Like who limits themselves to just one kind of beverage?
Or maybe it's just that you're cool when you're drunk, but when you're sober, you're kind of...
Oh, yes. Yes. That could be great. So maybe I, in fact, end up being like a backward movement force in your life. No, no, no. Drink this.
Okay, I like that.
And
I've made several references to bug juice in past things, uh, in case you're interested.
Excellent. And I was thinking that for Hildy, that so since Camellia is an agent of the law or character sheet of the law, its law is about hospitality, but that also has the understanding that maybe that there's an order to the way people relate to each other, and by you not fulfilling your birth destiny, maybe you stepping out of line, I was sent to arrest you for going into places you're not supposed to go. So one of the starting moves for the law has to do with choosing acts that are punishable. Like if you transgress, there are certain punishments. And I wanted to have my act be like the act of imposing on someone's hospitality over much is punishable by re-education, possibly in a re-education facility, which, considering I'm sort of not tied up with any big organization, might just be the particular place I'm serving tea to for the next 10 years.
Right. Yeah.
But also trespassing on someone's private garden and workshop, I was thinking would be strictly forbidden. And I can totally see you transgressing property and personal space boundaries.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I may have said, no, 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 you don't belong there. You're coming with me.
Yeah, I think when Hildy was here first, she was just trying to wrap her mind around this strange place, and would just like waltz through people's back gardens and just looking for stuff, looking for components for spells, or people who might have information.
People spend a lot of time and effort crafting and shaping the plants in their garden. You can't just traipse through them like, they're just scenery.
She totally picked some flowers. That is definitely not allowed. Cool.
Does that sound all right to everybody?
Yeah, for sure. I think I particularly just like the idea of the kettle hanging from the staff and that being used as like a flail or something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea I had. Like, is it what are we going to get today? Are we going to get boiling water, or are we going to get a black eye?
Yeah. Well, hey, maybe you can incorporate that into tags or something. So the situation that we're all going to be dropped into is a demonic wedding. Specifically, a wedding between one of Varric's family members and an important member of the opposing court. So if you could remind me, Matthew, which side of this conflict between Jagannath, this god of war and chaos, and Solomon David, this god of like wisdom and understanding, like which side of that conflict is your family member on?
So this would be like which side are they being married into, basically?
Right.
Or personally?
So with this marriage that's occurring, it's a bit of an arranged marriage, right? And we're hoping that this marriage could bring peace and avoid this terrible war that would throw into chaos. So your family is ultimately now on one side of this arrangement. Are they allied more towards Jagannath or more towards Solomon David?
I think it would be really fun if they were on Jagannath's side.
I think that would be appropriate. He seems like the sort of dude who would want a demon family of assassins to kind of be on his side. Cool. So we're having this big marriage between your. Tell me about this family member of yours a little bit.
Sure. This is This is my cousin Braxis. I think Braxis is actually a very capable assassin themselves, but have sort of bucked some of the family's like expectations, and they haven't wed for a long time because they've been very eccentric and strange and not really fitting into society very well, I think. So I think this is an opportunity. It's like, all right, your life's getting on here, you're skilled, but you can't spend your whole life just killing people. And it's probably also just like seen as a resource, like, you know, here's someone we can you know, use for leverage. But I think Braxis is also very, very beautiful once you get under their sort of disheveled appearance.
Very cool. So Braxis is being paired with, actually, luckily for them, an equally beautiful member of Solomon David's court. This is a person who has been, I think they've been like a librarian for most of their life, and they were also in a somewhat similar situation where they were not interested in finding a partner. But now they've kind of been put into this arranged marriage, and I think that what you can tell from this person, and we'll call them Ibrahim. Ibrahim, they seem very kind of nonchalant about the whole thing. They're hoping that it won't involve a lot of involvement from them. You know, they're just kind of going along, going with the flow, as long as it doesn't interrupt their studies, right? How do you think Braxis is responding to this marriage? Are they very unhappy with it, or what do you think?
I think that they have definitely put on that they're not happy about it, and it took a lot of persuading and pushing and forceful whatever to get them to agree to doing this. But I think now they're secretly excited and just hiding it.
Perfect. Okay. So I'd like to paint the scene a little bit here, but these questions are pretty broad and open-ended, so I want to give each of you time to consider them. So what we're going to do, first I'm going to have each of you describe how your characters are dressed for this wedding, how they've really, you know, took it to the nines. Then I'm going to ask the establishing questions, and then we will take a 5-10 minute break so we can tend to biological needs, think about that, then we'll come right back. Okay, so let's start with Varric again. How are you dressed for the occasion?
Well, I think Varric fancies himself quite the edgy young lad. He, you know, went through assassin school recently, so he's still got some of that young angst in him. I think he's wearing a oh boy. I think it's like a black and deep, like a black suit jacket with lots of like blue and purple, almost like galactic stylings, sort of. It looks a bit cosmic for sure. And then he's got like what look like moth wings coming off of the back of it, like just attached to the suit. But like this is, you know, part of what he's learned, and he likes to incorporate that into his style. So I think they're these sort of translucent, sparkling moth wings, and he's got sort of like big black pants, or with the same detailing as the jacket, and then big red pointed shoes, and he's got a cane.
Nice. Very classy.
That is definitely to the nines. I would say that's to the 11s even. Perfect, exactly what I had in mind. So Good luck, Daniel, following that up. Tell us how Cube, this very blue-collar beetle, is dressed up for a wedding.
Blue-collar beetle. Yeah. I haven't really described him wearing much of any clothes to this point. You know, but I think it's like I can definitely see from his big horn, like just a bouquet of flowers tied up into it, and maybe like just flowers and plants tied up to the various parts of him. So he's sort of a mobile arrangement. You know, maybe blues and purples and oranges, and like weird alien cactusy plants with petals. You know, very down to earth.
I like that. And I hope that I have an opportunity to have someone throw the bouquet if a fight breaks out. Love it. How about for Camellia?
So Camellia is dressed in its typical skirt, several layers of maybe particularly fine silk. And I imagine that I am at this wedding to help facilitate some small parts of the rituals, maybe not at the center of the rituals, but just making sure that the cups are filled the right way. And so I'll have a really thick corded sash going from one shoulder to the other, carefully not disturbing my little garden up here. And I will have the big staff with the kettle hanging off of it, and there'll be a little cork stopper into the thing to indicate that it's there just for purely peaceful purposes. And I imagine that I've recently had all of my terracotta brushed well so that it's not too dusty.
Very fine. And finally, our princess, Hildy. How are you dressed today?
Hildy is going to play a joke on everyone. She's wearing funerary garb from her world. She thinks that the concept of marriage is really just to perpetuate feudalism and to perpetuate, political marriages, and she is not for that at all. So she's wearing the classic dark gray, actually not unlike what I'm wearing right now, of her world, and it's very fine, but it is also kind of like clothing for a solemn occasion. It's not very intricate. Just kind of robes and a hood, the kind of thing that you could rub grave like a pyre ash into, and you wouldn't even maybe notice.
I'm sure there's many who don't understand or are unfamiliar with your world who think that you're just wearing the most dashing dress that you can find. Very cool. Okay, so as you alluded to, Camellia, marriages between nobles and throne are definitely very big ordeals, and in fact are important magical rituals, and they're often attended by throngs of well-wishers. There's a tradition where each family for each side of the marriage will construct a table for them and their wedding party and their guests. Thing about these tables is they're 1 meter wide and 1 kilometer long. So you can imagine, with a half a mile table, allows for a pretty large ceremony here, right? So Solomon David provided a table that's made entirely from books that he wrote, books of poems on the nature of violence. And he has used each of these books as a way to form this kilometer-long table. Guy is very, very well written. But Varric, I want to know, what material is the table provided by the Dolamir family made of, and what does this say about them? Right, and we're answering these questions after a break. I just remembered.
Okay, cool.
So take some time to think about that. What is your family's table made of? What does that say about them? I know that it's a little gauche to come right out and say that this is a metaphor, but It's a metaphor, guys. Cube. As a wedding present, Solomon David has provided the couple one of his 111,111 worlds. So this wedding and these tables are actually being framed by a gigantic archway, right? This thing is twice as wide as the Arc de Triomphe and 3 times as tall. This archway is a gate to that gifted world, built by your forefathers who were the servants of the god of caretakers, Unkas. So, in the untold ages that have passed since its construction, what elements of the structure have started to decay? And what does this say about the City of Thrones' stability throughout time? So what's fallen apart on the arch? What does that say about Throne? Camellia. As you very well know, eons ago, in an act of self-destruction, a god faced outwards from Throne and told a beautiful story. Thus, this world of the 777,760 worlds was created. Right? So a window to this world can be seen through the archway, crackling with arcane energy. What does the landscape of this world look like? And how does that contrast with the god's original dream for the world? So think about the beautiful story that this god told and how it's changed since then and what it looks like now. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And finally, Hildy, I have a love letter for you. So you've been commissioned by the Dolamir family to write and perform a piece on your Guquin.
Okay.
Right? So I want you to think about this song, describe it, and what you hope to convey through it. And then when we get back, we're going to roll plus heat and see how well it's received.
Awesome. I'll go find a YouTube clip.
Okay. That works for me too. If you come in with like some journey on a Chinese zither, I am going to have my mind freaking blown. But either way, just tell us what you're hoping to convey through that piece of music.
Cool.
Any questions about your questions?
I have a question about the world. I'm not too super familiar.
Yes.
These gates that go to the world, and this gate is going to be described by 24 right angles. Does it announce that it has some power when it's not in active use? Or is it just the stone or whatever it's made out of?
Right. So you see the stone, and you can see like it's like a giant window into that landscape. It's crackling with arcane energy. I think. So are you asking like if you can tell that it's active or what?
Yeah. So is it always active and always functional? And if not, when it's not being empowered, is there any sign?
Sure. I think that it's technically always active, but it's guarded by servants of whoever owns this world. So one part of this tyrant's army is kind of responsible. But this is a wedding, so maybe they don't have the full guard. Maybe they have a ceremonial guard. When it comes time, you can tell me.
All right, very good.
Cool. All right, 5-10 minute break. Think about that. Address your biological needs as human beings, and we will be back shortly.
I'm back.
So this is your first game online?
This is my first Gauntlet game, yeah.
Cool.
After being super frustrated not being able to find a game to join on the Gauntlet Hangouts because I'm super impatient, I ended up running. I'm now in a weekly game that is run just by voice, but it's so much easier on the Game Master. This PBTA stuff. Oh man, so much more satisfying.
Yeah, I used to do more Hangouts, but recently I just don't have time doing face-to-face here in Houston.
So that link that says this is when the thing is going to be in your time zone. I didn't look closely, and it doesn't include the effects of daylight savings.
Oh.
Yikes.
So I just happened to be like, I really want to get that email. And then it came in, I'm like, well, maybe I can see if it works. And then you were all there, and I was like, oh, man.
No.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think one thing that can be tricky, too, is that I'm pretty sure it's set to your Gmail account time, which might change or might be different, too. I mean, who knows? But
I haven't used any Google type stuff in years until basically I came across the Gauntlet. I'm like, oh, somebody's using this used to be super popular platform.
Yeah. Google
We haven't
Plus.
seen the Facebook exodus arrive yet. So.
I hope it comes soon. That's pretty brutal what they're doing out there.
Yeah. I don't want my grandma posting strange conspiracy theories to no one. I want her to be where I am on G+.
Right. I want to see these too.
Yeah.
I recently learned that Finland is not a real place.
That's what
That
they
is a
say.
real theory on the internet.
Well, have you ever met anyone from Finland?
Well, technically, even if you do, they're just Swedish and confused.
Swedish.
Wow.
That's...
Well, I've never been there, so I can't support any claims that
No
exist.
one has.
I mean, does no one pine for the fjords?
Wait, I have been pining for the fjords, so
Finland is a state of mind. It's a state of heart.
if you believe you can arrive there. It's like the Chronicles of Narnia or something.
It's more like Fillory. They have a little more fun.
Cool. How are these pity the scene questions going for y'all? Are they a little too broad, or you got some ideas? All
I
right.
get some ideas.
As soon as Matt gets back, we can lay him out.
And I have a cough drop, so if that's annoying you guys, I'm sorry.
No big deal. One thing that we like to do, it's just a general tip, is try to keep yourself muted just when you're not talking, just in general, just because who knows what little sounds are being picked up on the mic, and it tends to like bring your screen up in the main screen or whatever. It can be something to get used to, because all of a sudden you'll start talking for a long sentence and not realize that you're muted, or it takes you a second to unmute, and that can be kind of stuttering, but that's just
I kind of tried to figure that out by watching what you guys' little icons down there look like. And then mine is bright red, so I'm like, uh-oh, did I do it wrong? No. I'm sure it's bright red for each of you on your little screen on the bottom.
It's not double muted.
Right.
Muted and banned.
No, nothing too crazy like that. It's too bad that we don't have. I think that lower thirds have finally kicked the bucket too. I think, at least for me.
I tried to set one up and it didn't quite work.
Yeah, so
Mine
Well, I
doesn't
don't know.
work.
I keep seeing little news articles about Google trying to revamp certain parts of their stuff, but I don't know. I never know what to really believe.
Wait till they say something about it on Facebook, then it will definitely be true.
Yes, I think that's the moral of the story, right? Okay. But it's
Are you
super
guys-
cool. Oh, sorry, go ahead, David.
I was just gonna say, are you getting echo? Are you getting environment noises? Okay.
You're coming through crystal clear. Yeah, but it's exciting to have you join us. While we're still waiting on Matthew, why don't you tell us a little bit about like games you like to play and your experience in role playing and stuff like that, so we get to know you a bit
So
more.
my very first experience in role playing was my younger brother stole a set of dice from like a neighboring. We lived in a college town, so he stole some dice, and I'm like, "What are these?" And I fell in love with those. Then around sixth grade, I realized I couldn't afford to buy any gaming books, so a foster brother and we wrote this huge map, divided it into squares, and we would just take turns taking turns and using a d20. And so that may be why games like PBTA are like more my speed. Then I got into the whole D&D thing, and it was great, but I was never good at like remembering the rules. And I was never much for like the min-maxing. And then like the 90s happened and Vampire came out. And like I just remember like the first person who saw me play Vampire games was like, why would you want to play a bad guy? And I was like, why wouldn't you want to play the bad guy? I ended up being part of a team that ran a 100-person plus weekly game at the University of Massachusetts. Yeah, that was some crazy, crazy nonsense. We had to like talk with the police on a regular basis. You know, but like 100 people wearing all black, making like weird, hand gestures at each other. And then I played some Earth Dawn, which was a ridiculously horrible mechanic system, but a wonderful setting. And then I got married and had kids and didn't game for years and years and years. And I recently just got back into it. I'm like, there's got to be some gaming on the internet that happens. And like I played Storium for a while, but it was just so labor intensive and so easy to go off track. So, and then I found 2 actual play podcasts. The first one was Red Moon Role Playing, which uses Cult Divinity, which sounds exactly like PBTA rules, like when you hear them using them. And then I found Monster Hearts.
Yeah. Monster Hearts is pretty good stuff, for sure. Well, I hear your story, and it reminds me of quite a few people in the Gauntlet, especially when it comes to like the whole having kids and taking a break and then coming back to things. I'm a wee baby, me and Matthew, so Vampire and World of Darkness are like, just as legendary as Dungeons and Dragons are to us. But what you say about like PBTA, like resonating with you more because of that experience you had as a kid, that I kind of feel a similar way. Like when I read Dungeon World, it was like, this is what I thought Dungeons and Dragons was supposed to be like. You hear what it's supposed to be, and then you go and play it, and you're like, this is not what I was expecting at all. And that's what Dungeon World became for me. So that's awesome. Well, it's great to have you with us, David. And I hope that we
yeah, I'm super excited to join. I wish I could join at the $7 level, but I'm just so tapped out, that whole adulting business.
Yeah.
But I mean, the production quality, especially like I was so brokenhearted when I heard the AP comic strips were all done. I'm like, that is some of the best stuff.
I think with those, like, we just didn't have the audience for them. They're a little bit ahead of their time.
Yeah.
A lot of hard work was put in by editors to like really make each of those like shine. I know Slade did one for the Indie Hack, And
I have the record for the least listened to episodes of Comic Strip AP.
Oh no! How do you know?
If you're going by Google, I mean, if you're going by what is it, YouTube? I mean, it's really hard to watch YouTube audio things on YouTube for me.
Yeah. Well, no, that's just a feeling that I have. It's not. It's not backed up by any numbers. It's just.
Well, if you like Comic Strip AP.
Sorry?
I was just saying, if you like Comic Strip AP, Dave, you should check out Slade's because I thought it was super cool.
I'm listening to all of them.
Very good.
Are you liking Rich's sorcerer?
I like Sorcerer. The one I'm surprised that I like the most is about the dogs. It seems like it's some kind of Mormon setting where like they're like and and this is what I keep finding with PBTA. Like there are settings that I would never gravitate towards, like Melandros. I loved that story. Like I was like verklempt. I was like, oh, like that is not at all what I envisioned playing when I,
Yeah.
Dogs in the Vineyard is a really interesting game.
And then there was that building one where the buildings are demons. Only half of that story was available by the time I got to it. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think that's sorcerer.
That's Rich and Judd playing sorcerer.
Yeah, I like that one too. And the dogs one's one of my favorites. It's one of the longer ones, but if you stick with it, you get to at least one point later on the story that like blew my mind. So you'll probably know what it is when you get there. So.
Nice. Well, I got a 40-minute commute each way, so I'll get to it.
Oh yeah. Perfect. Thank you all for your patience. Let's get some of these painting the scene questions on the table. Bringing it back to Varric. What material is the table provided by the Dolamir family made of?
So I figured I'd push the whole 6 billion demons idea as far as I can. And I think it's made out of the polished and sort of filed and sanded teeth of many of the gods that were sort of petrified or sleeping or dreaming or whatever. I think that it's sort of like it's definitely a bit of a cocky thing. I think the Dolamir family are very capable, but also very obvious about how capable they think they are, sort of. So it's kind of like not even a god could stand in our way, or maybe they're hoping that it could get in the way of this marriage, but it also might be like, don't fuck around with us, Solomon, or these are going to be your teeth at the next table kind of thing. So yeah, I think it's just a big long row of giant meter wide molars.
First, I thought you were going to say it's made out of literal demons. So the teeth is pretty great too, though. It's like these tyrants. They're like the demiurges that came after the gods. So like with this table a kilometer long of teeth, it's like we command even those who came before you. So pretty ballsy. I like it. And then we have Cube. Tell us about the decaying archway.
So I'm looking at the picture I linked there, and it's obvious that like houses and dwellings have been built up around these things. But I think like originally, when these things were originally built, they were built to last, and this was also during the time where the servant races were constructed. I think that like inside them, there are like structures for caretakers to live. What the heck? Oh, you're sharing your screen. There are structures for caretakers to live, but like deep inside them, there's actually a nest of bug-like servants, but not like me, more like ants or small insects that would when thriving would cover this thing and keep it maintained, keep it clean, and like actually do maintenance on it. And maybe this is something else that like should exist throughout Throne, but these hives have started to wither and it's very rare to see anything actually active in them, and so I would probably visit that and check it out, and like I wouldn't disturb the hive, but I'd like leave a little offering there for it in case there is something still living there.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's the sort of thing where we see that just more disrespect towards the gods, right? Kind of like the same with the Dolomir family. I like this nest of bugs. When I presented that screen, did everyone see that picture that you'd shared?
Only on your little screen.
Okay, cool. Because I wanted that for like the listeners at home. Perfect. Oh wait, only on my tiny little screen.
I saw it on because I can see you when I'm talking, I guess, but maybe they were looking at me and then just saw the little screen.
Let me show it one more time just so everyone can see. There's our infinity. Here is the archway right here. Yeah, super sick. Okay, back to infinity, and we're good. Awesome. Okay, and Camellia, tell us about the landscape and the god's dream for this world.
So I imagine that the way we come to know what the gods planned for the world or saw in the world is represented to us by ceremonial guardsmen that come out with these huge tapestry holding poles. And they show this sort of passage of time and space through the seasons. And there are these very gentle hills, and a lot of them have pueblo-like structures in them. And there's this mix of like really refined metals and really well-polished stones, and these soft gardens and valleys, and everything has a very soft, welcoming feel, almost like it was a vacation spot or a meditation zone. These guards then abruptly turn away from the center, march away. Power flows through the gate, and what's there is very subtly different. It's still soft and curving landscape, but this particular view looks out over, let's say on one side there's a cliff, on another side there's what should have been an ocean. Growing out of the cliff are a variety of slime molds that are pulsing, and they're little ones that have the pods that kind of reach out. And there's all manner of like funguses and soft mosses, and the lake itself seems to be more viscous than water, maybe jelly-like, and it's affected by the breeze, and it's somewhere just shy of being unhealthy looking. And it's clear that even the cliffside has been made soft by these growths.
Sounds like that Tupperware I left in my car. I like this image, though. So I think it would be interesting, that could be something maybe that's harvested or sold by Solomon David, or there's some benefit to these slime molds. Or it's just a matter of, not paying attention, not maintaining the structure as well. Very cool. Now, finally, Hildy, tell us about your Quinn composition.
I don't need to tell you because you can hear it for yourselves. I don't know if there's an ad at the beginning of that or not.
Well, I've got YouTube Red, but yeah, I'll send a link to that for people to look at later who are watching the video now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, what is it kind of? Should we all take a break and listen to this for a few moments? Let's do that. I like that a lot. Thank you, Slade, for providing that. Yeah, so with this kind of piece of music that Hildy's been working on here, what is she trying to convey through this music?
So it's a song about life and the flow of life. The literal translation of that song is roughly flowing water. So it's about just the passage of time and how we all just sort of float on the surface and make our way down to the ocean eventually, join up with all the other flowing water. It's a song. It's a song about the inevitability of death. It's a song about the constant march of progress. It's a song about joining and dividing. And it is not a love song. It is emphatically not a love song.
So why don't you roll plus heat? I have a custom move here that's going to determine how this is received by people.
Varric definitely doesn't get your song.
Let's hope I have a little bit of bonus in heat now.
I think you do.
I think I do. I think I might have an 8.
Okay. An 8. On a 7 to 9, your music is inharmonious, and everyone perceives your meaning differently. So a rabble begins to break out amongst the audience. Varric, do you have exactly in mind how you personally took this bit of music to mean?
For Varric, at least, this is it's nothing. It's kind of something you'd hear like an old fisherman playing, at the edge of one of the red cliffs or something. Like he was expecting some like orchestra kind of thing. I think some of the older Dolamirs might be like nodding sagely and like, appreciating it. But he's like, where's the symphony, man? Like what is going on here?
So I imagine that we have Varric and Camellia are sort of mingling about amongst the tables with these large groups of people. And then we have Cube is kind of near the altar because he's looking at this archway and offering an offering to the very small sickly insect nest that's left, which is also nearby where Hildy is kind of performing on her quin. So the two of you who are in the thick of things are the first to start to hear kind of grumbling and mumbling, and it's happening on both sides, right? These people are saying, "Oh, what's this about? This is horrible music, or this is tasteless, or oh yes, this is a song of war," And it's just a bunch of kind of chaos that's starting to brew here amongst the tables.
Which two of us?
I think this is Camellia and Varric are the first to hear about this. So I think both of you are interested in making sure that this is a peaceful and harmonious event. One of you, because this is your family member and you kind of have an obligation, and one of you because you've been hired to provide tea. And tea is definitely something that's supposed to bring peace for the most part. So what are the two of you doing to try to quell this squabble?
I think I'll give a look to Varric, and I'll look back to the music, and I'll sort of say, "This is a wedding. This isn't about. There's no joy in it." And I'll hurriedly look to see if I can increase the sedative quality of whatever's being served. So if we were having something like coffee or something powerful like that to get everybody feeling joyous, I'll sort of look around and see, can I change what's being served briefly? Because I, of course, do not want to overstep my bounds and my role in this wedding.
So I think that's, you can alter this brew definitely. But unfortunately, you have 2-kilometer-long tables of people to serve.
And look down one end. Look down the other end. Good Lord.
So I think that you could maybe quiet the situation in a brief, small radius. If you wanted to change the brew for the entire tables, I think that would kind of describe the usage of a power die, right? As you and your power over tea can achieve something magnificent. But while you consider that, Varric, what are you trying to do to quell this situation?
Well, I think Varric is normally can be a bit rude to strangers and older folks that he doesn't respect, but his family, who are all, he perceives them to be more powerful than him. He is scared of them, and he doesn't like offending them. So I think he immediately jumps to their aid, kind of to sort of almost shout down the other side a little bit. Like he might interject loudly, like well, I can't claim that this doesn't suck. It's music. Some of these moldy oldies appreciate it, and y'all need to just relax and keep sipping on that hot stuff. Maybe Hildy will get into something a little more frantic, a little more jovial.
So this sounds like a risky kind of course of action here. Did you have an idea there, Dave?
I don't know the system too well, but I'm wondering if I can use something like wield the old law to give more than one person a command. What I'd like to do is maybe the important elders of the table, who maybe are sitting close to the bride and the groom, say, be calm, be at peace. This is a joyous time. Is that something that I can do with wield the old law?
I think so. Like you said, that you're a person who sort of monitors these old traditions and rituals. So I think that you would probably value the importance of this ritual, and getting into a fight is probably disrespectful of that. I will say, so everybody starts with like one power die, right? If you want to empower this move, which basically means that you roll with advantage, you roll 3d6 and keep the top highest 2, you can wield the old law for everyone present.
Okay. Now let's see if I can figure out how to get dice here.
Yes. So the easiest way is to type a number in next to the D6 or D6P, which is pips, and then choose a color, and that will roll that number of dice for you. But Varric, it sounds like you're doing something a little risky here. It kind of sounds to me like you're trying to bend will, which is sort of
thinking the same thing.
So tell me a little bit here. What do you plan to use as leverage? Are you threatening violence? Are you using your place as a respected member of the Dolamir family? What are you putting at stake here?
I think so. And I think, it might also be like tradition, like, even though I don't really like this, Hildy is sort of bringing us the music of her culture, wherever the heck that might be. And just because it's new doesn't mean that it can't be interesting. And also, maybe she'll get to playing something interesting eventually. So yeah, I guess it's sort of familial leverage. Yeah.
I see. Okay. So why don't you roll with heat to bend will? So for our good friend Camellia, you said that you rolled a 7, right?
Yes.
So you can roll a third die, and if it's higher than one of your others, you can swap it out.
Okay. Yeah, that will make it a 10.
Okay, perfect. So your order is simply to have everyone remain calm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Good to know. And in addition, you're going to be able to empower your next roll against them if you use that. So what does this look like? When we use a power die and we empower a move, something about our physicality changes. It's evident on screen, so to speak, that you are doing something above and beyond.
So I imagine that there are any number of vessels, great pots even, of things cooking and boiling. So I would take the staff, sort of twirl it around my head, using the teapot at the end to collect some hot water, and just go through a performance that attempts to complement or at least work with the performance that's being given, not to distract from it, and to say that this too is part of what we're doing. Camellia personally feels that the song is distasteful, but that's not my place. And so what I will do is go through very ritualized and yet stylized motions to serve the elders and to allow them to sort of show how things are supposed to be. also in line with what Varric said, let the old folks get down to their old music and you show respect.
So the elders,
my various skirts are, flying in the wind in kind of rainbow colors.
yeah. And the elders we have here, these are probably the ones who hold true power over these people, right? They're all on the end of the table that's totally opposite of the archway. That's kind of the hierarchy of things. And we have the elders of the Dolamir family are all these very dark, tall, very large demons with these very intricate black masks that are on these kind of like skeletal faces, and they're all, they're these sort of rictus grins on their faces of the masks, but they're all nodding very sagely. And the elders on Solomon David's side, they all have sort of a primate, kind of like Planet of the Apes type appearance, right? And they're all kind of old and have long beards and white fur and red faces, like baboons in a hot spring type appearance. And they're all nodding along with you too. And then we see the hot water moving around and ribbons around you and flying into their cups, which is all very beautiful and all timed well, in my opinion, with Hildy's music. That's in genre for me. What did you get on your roll to speak with the young ones?
I rolled a 7 to 9, so they would need some sort of concrete assurance or proof of my leverage.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we see the young folk, the younger orangutans and chimps kind of hooting and hollering, and the red and blue demons are sort of harumphing and crossing their arms, and they're not quite convinced. The word of the elders is important to them, but they can still be swayed. Let's look at Hildy and Cube's impression of this situation. From your angle, you're able to see the general response of the crowd, right? Imagine the DJ at their booth, right? That's kind of where you're at here. Cube, you said that you were very moved by this song. What would you say to Hildy in response to that?
Well, I wouldn't disturb them while playing, but yeah, certainly if someone acts up or attempts to disturb the performance, I would politely but firmly block them and sit them down.
Yeah, so you're kind of the bouncer in this situation, huh?
Yeah.
Very good. Hildy.
/ floor arrangement.
You kind of are coming into this wedding with a little bit of a counterculture perspective, right? You do know that this is a important wedding for maintaining peace, but is that what you're interested in? How do you feel about the way that your message is being received?
I think they don't get it. I mean, it's pretty subtle. It's delicate stuff. I mean, and there's this whole literature behind it that you kind of have to be on board with. And yeah, I think Hildy's just kind of sad that people aren't enjoying this in the spirit in which it is intended, which is life is bigger than all of us, kind of a oneness with the universe kind of a way.
I see. So, coming back to Varric, these young people...
I have a thought.
What's your thought?
I think that I might go and from higher up on the table, I might wander over to my Aunt Jinky, my aunt, and she is probably the most dangerous assassin in the family. She's wearing kind of like a magenta frilly sort of dress and a dark wide brimmed hat with a magenta band around it. And I think I would ask her to come up and dance with me, and sort of just sort of in front of where all these people were hooting and hollering, just as you don't want to, people would know her reputation, and just to sort of scare them off a little bit.
Wow. So what elements of the shadow arts are present and obvious while you're doing this dance of death with your auntie?
Oh, I love it. I think that it definitely demonstrates our sort of dexterity. Like all limbs would be used in this, and tails and sort of things like that. But I think it's also very. It's not like an over the top swing dance sort of thing. It's very subtle, but it's like it's deadly and threatening as well. So there's a lot of there's no like quick, aggressive movements or anything like that. It's very flowing, but it's also very like showing our prowess, sort of like a predator would stalk something else. Right.
I think with that, you're able to bring things back down to a quiet simmer. There's still a certain tension here. There's still a certain threat of violence on both sides as you demonstrate your killing ability, right? But nobody is pulling out weapons, right, at this point. So, Cube, a slender man walks up near the kind of playing area here. He's one of the servant race, and in fact, his particular adaptation is that half of his face is actually built into a harp. So kind of like his one ear inside of his face has this harp look to it, and he has the one eye. And he's kind of draped in like loose-fitting clothing that sort of comes down across, and he ties it at his waist with a piece of fabric and silk. It's a very elegant-looking figure. He says, "You look like one who appreciates this music."
True.
I'd very much like to speak to the performer if she's not busy.
Has the performance stopped or ended?
Well, what do you think, Hildy? Are we still playing? You taking a break?
I mean, it's only a 6 or 7 minute song. I think I'm feeling the room, standing up, packing my instrument away.
Sure. I would motion. I mean, I'm not going to physically stop them unless they're like causing a scene.
Yeah, I think that if they see that you're not, squaring your shoulders and blocking the way, even though maybe you don't like move fully out of the way for them, right? They kind of elegantly like slink past you and maybe just brush with you just briefly, and you just hear this like kind of faint strum of a harp as they move past you. They come and they do a little flourish and bow before you, Hildy. They say, "Shame that your audience doesn't have the most discerning palate when it comes to harmony and melody."
Yes, quite. Still packing things away and just trying to get off to the side.
Oh, are you done so soon?
Well, yes, anything more would be gratuitous.
I was thinking perhaps that we might perform a duet. I fancy myself a bit of a musician as well.
What kind of vibe am I getting off this guy?
Good question. Do we have a move for that?
You could pry some secrets.
Yeah, I think sounds like pry secrets to me. That's going to be rolling with plus mind.
Oh, I'm not great at minding things. Okay.
Some kind of wizard you are.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm a hot wizard. I'm a heat-based wizard.
Ow.
Heat wizard.
That's a 6.
I totally trust him.
Yeah, he seems like a cool dude.
He says, "Tell me, Miss Hildegard, what is your muse?"
Muse? I think it's probably dissatisfaction.
How lovely. Expound on that for me, would you?
Well, of course, the world is as it is, but not as it could be. Not as it probably should be. Do you ever wake up and find yourself angry without knowing really why?
Every dawn. And he's kind of tilted his head, and he's looking a little bit more sinister now. He says, I too find dissatisfaction with the stagnant nature of this place. How many countless eons have things stood still and just been left to rot and decay?
Many things. Or was that rhetorical?
You know, when I listen to your song, it's made me think of death. An odd thing for a wedding and a marriage, but it definitely sung to me about the inevitability of the end. I have a similar muse myself. I find joy and creativity in, well, to put it bluntly, chaos. Battle. Squalor. The end of all things, don't you know?
I'm going to court sorcery this guy because I don't want to be anywhere near him. So I'm going to kind of fake a bumping into cube. And in that, I'm going to use eye-splitting feather and try to make a duplicate of myself that can continue this conversation so I can get the heck out of here.
Okay, so you want to use your court sorcery to cast shadows. You're going to roll with mind again.
Come on, better numbers. That is a 10.
Perfect. We'll come back to that.
Okay, great.
Camellia, the elders are very impressed with your performance, which is not something that demons often like to give angels credit for, you know? But you're both beings drawn to this plane from your home and kind of making the best of it here. So they have respect for you for that. And they like this tea that you've made for them, this particular blend. Could you describe what you've brewed for them briefly?
I would say that in this case, it's one of those very, very bright oolong teas. The fluid comes out as almost golden yellow, and it's one of those teas that you can continually remake and experience new layers as you go through the sipping. And it's just one of those things that a little taste will do you, but it lasts all night.
Mm.
So there's lots of little cups.
So I think the Dolamir elders, they sort of motion you nearer, right?
I will approach.
An excellent brew you have brought for us, Camellia. It certainly fills me with a vigor I haven't felt in 1,000 years. Tell me, what boon might we offer you? Perhaps a plate of food from, from an open door magically appearing. But basically, they want to offer you a favor. So
I would, of all things, love to get my hands on a small sample of the plant called cafe. I hear that its beans are most magical, but I am always happy to increase my knowledge of any sort of beverage.
Cafe, indeed. A blacker brew was there never that was brewn.
You have heard of this brew? You know it exists? It's real?
An ancient secret, but for a brewer such as yourself, we might be willing to pass on knowledge of its location. But maybe, in exchange, we'll ask something of you when the time comes.
I would be most grateful for such an opportunity.
So while that lovely exchange is going on, what are you up to, Varric? now that your dance is done.
What am I up to? I think that I'm sort of sizing up the folks that Solomon has brought here. I think that if anyone's, I sort of see myself as sort of the one keeping things together now for whatever reason. So if people are speaking out, I'm like walking around giving dirty looks. I'm basically like asking for a fight, but I know that most of them won't do that because of where they are, sort of. But I'm just going around mean mugging everybody who's being disrespectful.
I like it. You're the kind of maid of honor, so to speak, now, making sure nobody's getting too drunk.
I think I might like to just make sure that Varric has a beverage, because maybe I see that he's going around and talking to the youngins. And I'm like, well, maybe it might help him out. And it certainly doesn't. But maybe it might help him out if I like refill his beverage for him, especially coming, from the side I've just come from, talking to the Solomon side of the family. But like, I'm sure this is going to help his particular endeavor.
Okay, so while the two of you are having tea time, let's cut back to Cube and Hildy. So I'll ask Cube, what does it look like when this mage bumps into you and splits into two forms?
I think it's like if you're not looking, towards it, it gets a little bit fuzzy for a moment, and you see Hildy just sort of back out of her own image, and then like kind of roll past Cube behind him. And I don't know, maybe comes out from behind him looking slightly different, and the conversation continues. If this guy starts to get sort of pushy or menacing, I would probably try to take him out, or ask him to leave, or
So I was going to ask, and you kind of answered a little bit, like what's your why you think that Hildy has done this? What is your theory?
I'm not even certain if I was aware of it, but yeah, I mean the guy is obviously sort of getting a little creepy or a little bit disturbing, and maybe looking to cause trouble, right? And maybe my antennas pick up on this. I might, just for this occasion, have gotten a little bit drunk, right? And so I'm not in the best control of myself either. And so yeah, seeing Hildy leave, I pick up on the fact that this guy is causing a problem, and I basically say who I think you're done, whoever you are. Could you vacate the stage?
He's kind of looking at you sidelong, and well, I was just finishing this conversation with this lovely musician here, and your copy, Hildy, is sort of standing there as properly as she should, to kind of maintain the illusion. Where are you headed, though? What's on your mind? Hildy, that is. Her.
Oh, okay.
Because she left a copy to speak with him, and now your actual self has gone somewhere else, right?
Oh yeah, I'm out of there. I think I'm probably circumnavigating the area and trying to get into the wedding hall kind of region of things. I kind of want to see the end of Varric dancing with his aunt, if that's possible. I think that would be interesting.
For sure.
And then this kind of a back and forth with the T. Yeah, just trying to blend into the biggest crowd, maybe on the Solomon David side.
Yeah. So you're definitely going to be able to kind of extricate yourself from that situation, reunite with Camellia and Varric. But let's go back to Cube, who's kind of pushing at this rando, right? It's like, well, I don't know if I like the tone that you're taking with me, servant.
Tone would be your specialty, not mine.
Hey. So he's like, well, you're here to maintain things, I'm sure, from your appearance. And as you can tell from my appearance and my formation, I'm here to play music. So why don't you leave this to the musicians? You can go work on your jackhammer.
Who exactly hired you? Where's your invitation?
Well, I am an agent of chaos. No one invites me anywhere. I just arrive.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to get rid of this guy.
So you're just going to try to pick him up to throw him out?
All right, pick him up and carry him out.
This sounds like we're going into combat a little bit. But I'm assuming you're trying to keep it pretty low key though, right?
Yeah.
Let's see if this guy's gonna be able to escalate this into anything bigger. This sounds like for our combat move. There's a particular one for grappling people. Might
or something like that.
Use your physical strength to subdue, grapple, or throw. Roll plus body.
That's not great. But I have 2 bodies, so that is a 7 total.
Ooh, just enough to get 2 options.
Let me see if I can find this thing.
I can read them out to you as well. Your target stops moving and cannot move until they escape your grasp. Your target takes 1 AP damage. Your target gains the reeling tag, or your target gains the crippled tag. So reeling is kind of like prone. It means that they can't really do anything until they get up if you've thrown them somewhere. Crippled would be...
Yeah, I think definitely he stops moving and cannot move until they escape my grasp. Though, hopefully that doesn't mean I can't actually carry them somewhere.
Oh yeah, you can definitely do that.
Let's see. And I think reeling is a bit appropriate here because I'm definitely disheveling them, I think is the word.
Sure.
Binding them up, maybe even compressing them a little bit, as I carry them.
So even if he was to release himself from your grip, it's going to take him a moment to collect himself. So you can see he's a little disappointed because since you have his arms, he can't reach. He's trying to reach for his rapier, but your grip is too strong. And he seems to be trying to reach for that harp on his head, but he can't even reach that either. And he's just like hissing at you like, you may be an agent of order, but you cannot hold on to chaos for too long. Where are you taking this fellow?
Actually, probably we're right next to the gate, right? So
yeah,
that's probably the quickest exit. I'm gonna peek on the other side of the gate, see if there's some way I can just dump this guy, maybe down a hill.
I love it. You can definitely just bar toss him out by his belt off into the rolling fungus hills.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
And you can hear as he tumbles and spores kind of fly up as he goes rolling down a hill. It's going to take him a little bit to get back. But then we have... How about we bring you all back together, right, to meet up with this? And Hildy and Cube, you can share this information about this unwanted guest if you'd like.
Yeah. Yeah. Who was that guy? I got rid of him.
Let's call him, for the sake of argument, Harpo.
The interloper.
Harpo the interloper. That's. Do you want to query the cosmos about Harpo the interloper and tell us more about him?
Me?
Whoever thinks that they would know Harpo.
Sure, I'll try that. Maybe that's part of why I got the bad feeling about him.
Yeah, once someone mentions his name.
What stat is that?
Mind.
Okay.
Or, I'm thinking of, it's still mind. Consulting your knowledge about something.
That's a 5.
Basically spout lore. Okay. He's known as Harpo the Interloper. He's an agent of chaos. Not much more than has been shared with you. I'm going to hold on to that failure as some badness that will be coming back your way at an appropriately dramatic moment.
That was totally not my intention.
So we're coming back to the festivities. Everyone is remaining relatively calm. Varric, as someone who's steeped in the tradition of demons and marriages and things like that, what's the next part of the ceremony?
The next part of the ceremony is it's a showy duel between the to be wedded. So it's like a ritualistic sort of like dance fighting thing that everybody watches and like places bets on, and it's sort of like it's got a bit of a wrestling vibe to it, sort of like the way, but it's so beautiful and still a dance. Yeah, a little like capoeira for sure. But it's more yeah, it's pretty graceful. I'd say it's pretty close to that.
So we see Braxis come up, and they've been dressed in this sort of formal attire that they're not very much used to wearing. Their hair behind their mask has been like brought up into a tight braid. But as they start to do their dance, right, their clothing starts to kind of lose some of its knotting and its ties, and their hair comes out and it's getting a bit loose, and they're starting to get a more and more wild appearance. Whereas Ibrahim, he also has this appearance of like a sort of like they have an appearance of like an androgynous Planet of the Apes monkey, right? And their dance has a little bit less vitality to it, I would say. It almost looks like they're just following through the motions. But at the same time, they're contrasted by that wild dance with like sort of a regal manner of their movements, right? It's almost like Tai Chi being brought up next to capoeira, right?
Cool.
But I think Camellia here, also being someone who's very knowledgeable about tradition and ritual and things like that, you see that one of these parties is going to alter the tradition here.
Now, is one of these parties... Oh, I get to choose which party?
Which party, and what do you see that suggests that they're about to turn this into less of a dance and more of an actual duel?
So I think that the side that isn't the Solomon David side takes some offense to how their dance is slow and steadied and measured. They take it almost as an insult of saying to them that your life isn't vital, so we're not going to give that to you. And I think that side, the side that's offended, gets this idea in their head that they're going to expose some of their vitality, maybe making a very superficial cut or a little snick of the fur to just say, you're joining a dangerous people. You need to be alert and alive, or you will be dead.
Yeah, it sounds like that might be the sort of thing that Braxis might do. They're very impetuous, right? So Braxis and this Jagganoth side of the table with these big god teeth, right? They're starting to get their blood up, right? And this is the god of war's side, right? So when they see her cut the opposite side, they're starting to get real excited here. Things are getting a little tense.
And like maybe the cut goes deeper than it was meant to go, so there's actual like a little like yelp.
Yeah. Abraham kind of loses their composure just for a moment there, right? Again, we have these arbiters of peace and harmony, and we also have people who are more interested in discord and revolution, I guess. What are your individual thoughts, fears, hopes for this wedding?
Well, at this point, I've suddenly become a little bit more invested in the Solomon David side. And so I think that I may get associated with a debacle, right? And therefore lose whatever grace I've earned. So I might even be inclined to say, no touching until after the ceremony.
I mean, it looks like things are about to go off. So I'm going to send my body double to the Jagganoth side to stand near the back. And so no one really knows which side I'm on. Or like they look and they're like, oh, wasn't she over there before? I think it's going to kick off. And when it does, I want to be on the winning side or out the door. It's all very attractive. I mean, all this like complex dancing and all the ritual and stuff, the giant table of teeth. It's all an amazing spectacle. But yeah, I'm holding my cards close to my chest.
I think that I am trying to gain position eyes and still hearts if I need to, but I would like to sort of like eavesdrop on the Solomon David side and sort of like, I want to be ready if anyone's going to try anything. And I want to know what's going to happen before it does.
I'm much more interested in the things being calm or working out peacefully. So like any rabble rousing, anything I can shut down, I will try to just like intimidate it down. You know, if people start getting loud or I will try to make them know that it's gonna end badly if they start a fight.
Very cool. I think I want to maybe
I'm
look.
looming.
Yeah, you're ready to roadhouse these people if you need to, right? I'm interested in Camelia's attempt to maybe interfere with this duel a little bit. That seems like a pretty front row center thing. I guess my question would be, if you're interested in taking that to a move and finding success there, what do you think that your leverage over this audience is if you would want to bend their wills?
I think that, well, on the one hand, I think there's a point after which somebody's going to transgress a law, and a sort of a different aspect of my being will kind of come into play. So for now, I'm sort of playing that like meek, livery kind of guy, like, mild mannered, Downton Abbey sort of servant type, like, oh no, we don't do that here. That's not how things go. But then, maybe I can start to feel like they don't care anymore. Everything has been put out nicely for them. Everyone's performed their assigned roles, and things are about to happen that are monumental. And, because these two people are not willing to give each other the benefit of the doubt, it's going to ruin everything. And then I'm going to have to put on my mantle of the law, which I have avoided as much as possible. And I think at that point I will start issuing forth, fiery worded commands, because I think all of my abilities are basically like telling people what to do. And I don't have any power dice, so I can't use wielding the old law. But so maybe even like steam is starting to come out of the kettle that was previously emptied, just as a sort of an emotional reveal.
Yeah, I like that. I think that all of your attempts at like polite butler type style mediation are kind of being ignored because we're seeing the sort of danger of having an arranged marriage between two very skilled martial artists who aren't interested in it come into play here. So until you bring out that mantle of the law, I think that they're going to be continuing to increase the stakes and get this closer and closer to clashing steel. And I think that the moment that that's going to happen is when we hear two weapons clang together. So you sense that that's coming soon.
Yeah, so I think that what I would do is use wield the old law and give an order to the one who made the cut, like, maybe not something that indicates carry on dancing, but dance with care. Something to that effect. And I believe that's a plus heat. But that's my intention, is to get them to not stop what they're doing, but carry on better.
Perfect. So what's going to happen here is on a 10 plus, basically, they're going to you basically get to empower your next roll against them. It's not necessarily that they're going to do what you say, but that when you intervene, that you're going to be in a better position to do so. And on a 7 to 9, they're either going to do what you say. I guess on a 10 plus, they will do what you say. They either will do what you say, flee, or attack you.
So I rolled a 10.
Okay. So they're either going to do what you say, flee, or attack you, but your next move against them is going to be empowered. So we'll keep that in mind. But when we go over to when we go over to Varric, using the shadow arts to kind of be able to eavesdrop in secret on the court of Solomon David, they're all starting to quote some of his poetry about the nature of battle and violence as a means of communication, right? And they're all extrapolating what Braxis is trying to say and what that means for this very tenuous truce between Solomon David and Jagannath. So they're they're getting their minds ready for battle, so to speak. And Hildy, from your vantage point on basically both sides, isn't your ability that you can choose to make either one of those copies real at any time?
Just at the very end, as I kind of dispel it.
So we don't necessarily know which one's the real you until you decide which one you want to be.
Sure. Yeah.
So your particular loyalties at this moment are unclear. You're going to go for a victor if one comes.
I'm waiting to see. Yeah. So Hedley's in the back, totally silent. Both versions. She's trying to be as still and as spaced out looking as the clone copy. And just wait and see.
So Cube, you are trying to be this physical imposing force, trying to make sure that nobody starts any fights. And I think that you're seeing more physical kind of movement from Jagannath's side more than Solomon David's, because they're kind of talking about it quietly. When you hear from behind you, coming from that gate, a low rumble, right? What sounds like maybe it almost has like a cadence to it, a rhythm to it, like marching.
All right.
But you have very sensitive little antennae, and I think that you're particularly sensitive to vibration as a construction worker, right? That's something that you're particularly attuned to. So you might be one of the first people to feel and hear this coming from the gate. What do you do?
I would Well, I would rush off in that direction. See what I could, like, if I can see it before it comes to the gate. Is this like an army?
From what you can just see now, it looks like just a cloud of spores. But if you want to roll prize secrets, which is kind of like discern realities, we can see if you can roll with mind and maybe get some questions out of your scouting.
Yeah, that's not my best stat. That's going to be a 3 total.
Oh boy. Well, you are still pretty perceptive. Unfortunately, what you perceive is pretty bad. This marching in the clouds, it's starting to get a little bit louder. And you can see that the way that the spores are moving, it almost looks like ripples in water, or maybe like the strumming of a harp, right? As you look at the way that the spores are moving. Yes, and soon enough, Varric will be receiving his symphony. So I think that it's gotten loud enough now that people are starting to maybe hear something coming from the gate and be suspicious. But we turn back to Braxis and Camellia, right? And Braxis is saying, look at this one. I'm to be married to them, but they don't seem to care about this fight at all. I'm just trying to make sure that they are invested in this marriage.
Observe how their dance is full of slow power, the kind of power that chips away at the mountain over eons. Surely the wind that passes over the mountain seems weak and ineffectual against it. And it's not the kind of power that, say, a spider might have at leaping at its prey and capturing it and piercing it. But their power is slow and strong and lasts. That's a power you want to mingle with your own so you have both short-term and long-term strength. I say, pulling this out of my rapidly rising kettle of, like, don't make me lay my kettle on you. Is there any sense that you said we're starting to hear the thrum?
Yeah.
And I kind of look over and I say, are we expecting a third party to this wedding?
So before you say that, Braxis kind of looks, she listens to your words and she nods and she says, or they say, maybe that's what love is all about, right? and then we have, are we expecting a third party? And we see this harp moving. And she said, I wasn't expecting any of our future subjects to be greeting us today. Maybe it's a parade to welcome me and my spouse to our new throne. Maybe it is. What do y'all think? Probably not.
Camelia's like, but the law was coming. The law was. I better fix another set of drinks just in case.
Cube is picking up one of the tea.
Go ahead, Daniel. I think.
Oh,
want to make sure I'm behind though.
Is this harp guy on our side of the gate yet, or is he still coming?
I think that as he gets a bit closer, right, you're able to start seeing one figure standing out in front of the crowd. Still far enough away that you can't really see their appearance, though.
Oh.
I would say it's maybe safe to assume, with all of the imagery that and the fact that you threw him bodily into the gate.
I think I'm definitely just going to assume that this is a bad situation. So on the wedding side of the gate, I take the last two giant god teeth from the end of the table, right? And I, I've got one in each arm, and I go through the gate. I'm just going to try to artillery these into that crowd to
Nice.
discourage them.
Roll a what's your damage? 2?
2.
Roll.
Actually, is it? If this is a great weapon, I think it's plus. It's. I think the messy tag is I deal an additional damage to the target and/or people around it.
So since this is such a large crowd and you're basically a beetle trebuchet right now, I'm just gonna do a little ruling here. This is a great weapon. Roll 3d6, and that's going to be the number of this horde that you take out.
Ooh, that is a 15.
Okay. So yeah, you see a portion of you see these giant molars like rolling down the hills and like kind of leaving this like wake in front of them, and you see like beings like flying, and Wilhelm scream comes out as they fly away. So Hildy, you're on both sides of this thing. You're spending some time listening to what both people are saying, and they're starting to accuse each side, right? Like, this is some trickery of Jagannath to come and bring war. This was all just a setup, and this is Solomon David's idea of a ploy. He thinks he can catch us unawares, huh? Well, we brought weapons. We're no fools, right? And Varric, you see people are starting to draw weapons. So it sounds like both sides are interested in killing each other and everyone. What are you thinking, Hildy? Who's looking like the winning side to you?
It's looking like Jagannath, but it appears that we've kind of picked Solomon David as a group.
Well, you tell me, you individually, Hildy, who are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then I'll ask Varric as well.
Okay, Solomon David. I think Solomon David's gonna make it out of this the best.
So you're maybe kind of hopping back which form is more corporeal, right? Varric, how about yourself? Are you going to stand by Braxis if this comes to a fight, or do you want to try to neutral things out here?
I think if anyone's itching for a fight in this, it would be Varric to support his people, and you never bet against Jagannath.
He's the god of war. So then we come back to Camellia, who's trying to keep the peace. If you can convince Ibrahim, because Braxis you've already managed to convince, right? They're going to try this marriage thing out, give it a go. Ibrahim, though, they've just been wounded. They're not sure how they feel about this, Jagannath rube, right? What would you say to try to convince Ibrahim to really keep this relationship?
Master Ibrahim, there is one thing I have learned in my quest for good beverages, and that is that love is a battlefield. And I will wield the old law and point out to this coming group of people through the thing and say, and I will use my wield the old law, lead your peoples to battle. And the idea is that I will get them together as a wedded couple to now unify their force against this newcomer. That's my hope.
That's a good plan. So why don't you roll with heat, I believe, right? To wield that old law.
And to use now, what's this idea about empowered? I'm sorry, I'm a little behind on the system.
Right. So empowering your role is basically just deciding you want to give something advantage. So there's two ways you can gain those power die back. One way is kind of by your moves. Like you basically have, wield the old law. So if you use this, your next roll against them is empowered. Another thing you can do is when you make a move, you can push it, which makes it a bit more risky. But when you do that, you gain a power die that you can use later.
Well, I was empowered before, but I think this was against not Ibrahim, but the other one.
I'm going to let you
Let me
transfer
roll
that
with it?
over.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
so-
if you succeed here, I'm going to let you push that empowerment onto this third force.
So what I got, unfortunately, was a 6. A
With
straight
rolling 3 and keeping the 2 highest?
Oh no, I did not keep the 2. I only rolled 2d6.
Roll one more and see if it is enough to take you over.
Just gonna roll that. Sorry, I'm a little slow on this stuff.
That's perfectly fine.
Yep, nope, did not help. Not one bit.
Oh, so you're still at a 6.
Yeah. I actually went down to a 4 from a 6.
So Solomon David turns to you, or not Solomon David, but Ibrahim, agent of Solomon David, turns to you and says, "You cannot fool me, servant of Jagannath. We are wiser than you in your lot. We've studied the ancient battle poetry of our king, and we know an ambush when we see one. To arms! Priests of Solomon David, chant your battle poetry. Recite the words of violence." We see these priests stand up, and of course, they were very regal before. They now, to their full height, are apes with 6 arms, and they start ripping open these tables with these books, and they're pulling out these pages, and the words on them are starting to catch fire, and they have these combat charms on them, and they're going to turn this into a 3-way cube. This crowd has gotten close enough now that you can see clearly the harp-shaped head of Harpo, the interloper. If you look out there, there's a good, 4 soldiers still out there coming into the. They're getting ready to come through the gate. They'll be here within, a good 100 paces or so, right? And they're marching pretty rapidly. And you see that Harpo is swinging his sword like a conductor's wand, right? His thin rapier.
Nice.
But then you hear behind you, more combat is starting to erupt. And we'll say for Math's side, basically each side has about 100 able-bodied soldiers and warriors who are getting ready to fight. So I'm just going to kind of maybe abstract this a little bit because we have a good half an hour, and trying to do a full-scale combat is going to be pretty ridiculous for that. So I guess I would just ask, describe the action you're doing. We're going to roll to see how successful you are with that action, and with the 7 to 9 or 10 plus, you're going to do your harm in D6 to a group of soldiers of your choosing. So start with Cube. What are you doing now?
I think I take the last couple moments before they arrive at the gate to jump back onto the wedding side and pick up one of the books from the table. And I'm imagining this as a gigantic book.
Sure.
A table-sized book, and
it is the coffee table.
Yeah,
right?
Going with the theme. It's 1001 mantras of patience, for happy marriage, and I'm going to use this as basically a shield and a battering ram to just hammer against the people trying to get to the gate and just try to hold that gate.
So I'll say, as you grab this book, you look towards this oncoming horde. For a moment, it's probably clear to you that although it would be blasphemous, you're aware of the weak points on this gate.
Yeah, I thought about that.
You could probably do something to destroy the gate and close this off, but that would be quite the dishonor to your forefathers.
That would be a really unfortunate thing for me. And yeah, I'm betting the weakness is through that hive, and it would be it wouldn't be something I would do until like it's a really bad and like I'm on death's door and completely hopeless situation.
So
But
let's come back
maybe
to
in the
that.
epilogue we'll see what happens.
Let's come back to that and see if that's what you might do. But for now, you're prepared to be a battering ram and a shield. Let's go to Camellia. You've just offered this word of peace, but it was not enough. What do you plan to do?
From what I'm seeing, even though these two people who have the power to like join two armies together would be awesome, one side isn't listening. And neither one of those two sides are really the problem. The problem is this interloper who is crashing the wedding, a very important wedding. So I think that what I would do is not being super combat oriented. I want to be where Cube is, and I'd like to bolster his efforts. Maybe I can help him like roll that book up or get it, face the right way or whatever. So that's what I would like to be doing in preparation for Harpo getting close enough to hear my voice, and maybe I can get him to stop.
Okay. We will resolve those two together. We'll say it will be how many you can stop before they kind of jump over your books. So why don't each of you roll with body? It sounds like you're trying to use your body to stem the tide of these invaders and knock them senseless.
I'm gonna go excuse me. I'm gonna go ahead and use my power die.
Yeah, very cool. What does that look like when you're...
I managed a 9.
Pretty good.
Yeah, me too, unfortunately. I rolled 2 1s with the power die. But the other one was a 6. Yeah, I think we spread out. This book almost covers the ground floor of this gate, right? And as people go through the gate, it just shoves this happy marriage poetry in their faces and knocks them back through the gate. And you can see my wings are pushing against this crowd of people pushing on the book, and it was sliding back and forth as I get traction.
Yeah, and you managed to get a few, but then it looks like you're starting to lose some traction. Then Camellia steps in and offers their strength. They're pushing back as well. But
Maybe
I think
set
that
the stave into the spine of the book, and it snaps as they're overwhelmed.
Perfect. There's your 7 to 9. You got it. For Cube, though, I think that this is just you doing this physical strain on your body. You're really like putting your physicality into it. I think you'll probably take some stamina damage from trying to maintain this. And we will look and see, probably 2, right? Now, each of you roll 2d6 for me.
I assume I've healed up from the last episode, right?
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Just fictionally, I want to say that like the ribbons holding all those flowers are like popping as my muscles strain. Well, beetle muscles, my carapace expands, I guess.
Yeah.
2d6.
I got boxcars.
Ooh.
Almost 11.
Dang. Wow. Okay. So that's a total of 23, right?
Yeah.
So now we're down. So you managed to knock out and kind of defeat for the moment a good score of these invaders. Ferric, what is their appearance as extra numbers of them? A good 3 score, right? Like climb over this book and around the side. Are they humanoid? Are they mutant? What do they look like?
Are these Harpo's people?
These are the people of this fungal planet.
I think that they are I think that they're vaguely humanoid, definitely mutant. I think the thing tying them together is that they all have an odd number of limbs. Some of them would have like, 5 legs and 2 arms and things like that, but they all, for whatever reason, are just not even on either end. And there are various colors of greens and yellows and reds, and sort of the smell immediately starts to permeate the room, and it's kind of just this off-putting sort of acrid, rotten smell, sort of. And they move very fluidly, and they kind of slop all over everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can see that the eyes that they do have, which are also sort of like almost Picasso-esque, like placed on their faces like a flounder in a strange way, but all of their eyeballs have like rolled back into their head. And you see Harpo himself leap acrobatically over this gigantic book. It's pretty evident that he has sort of like brainwashed these people into this battle. And he is just feeling glorious as combat is erupting. And what are you doing, Varric, in the meantime?
Well, so are the ape priests still taking up arms against my people?
Yes, everyone has weapons out, and they're all getting ready to fight each other. After your moves, we'll see what they do to each other.
Sure. Then I think from my vantage point, where I had been eavesdropping on their side of the room, sort of, I would like to basically. So I'm gonna want to spend a power die here. So first, you see my 6 other eyes open on my head, and they're all kind of like scanning around, looking for all of my enemies. Remember, I'm still wearing this like cosmic tuxedo with these bright red pointed shoes and these wings fluttering on my back, kind of. And I think I jump up onto the table, and I'm sort of running down the table where they're all sitting. And what I'd like to be doing is using sort of all my training here and the 49 empty palms. So the palms let me project the power of Atom into my strikes, displacing air with their attacks. The Spider School will let me cling to surfaces, even if they're sheer or smooth. And the Moth School will let me weigh almost nothing and jump off impossible surfaces such as sword blades. So what I'd like to be doing is just like running down this table, sort of propelling myself through the air with my strikes, kind of jumping off of their sword blades and their staffs, sort of. And it's just this acrobatic gauntlet that I'm running down the table the whole time, just striking death blows wherever I can, kind of.
Hell yeah. Roll 3d6, keep 2 highest.
Cool. 1, 2, 3. That is going to be a 11 and 11.
Perfect. I forgot I was going to have Cube roll an extra d6 thanks to empowering this move. But you go ahead and roll 3d6. We're going to see how many ape priests you take out. Go ahead and roll another d6 for me, Daniel, so I can add that to those taken out from Harpo's troops. Now, Hildy. You said another 4? Okay. Cool. Nice. So a 13 with your damage there. Very good. So Solomon David is starting to lose some people as well. Hildy, hedger of bets.
Yes.
Who are you going to start? Well, what are you doing? Are you going to start attacking people and taking people out? Do you have a different plan in mind?
I'm pretty sure that is the best plan, and so that will be my plan.
Okay.
Harpo and the fungus men are looking like a good band name, but also terrible people. It's just terrible. So I'm gonna just kind of circumnavigate the whole wedding and just charge forward towards Harpo and take off his head if I can.
Harpo himself, yes. I think that would be a little bit more of a direct attack. We're going to view him as an individual entity. So the two of you are going to meet in very melodic combat. What does that sort of look like? How is your music influencing this duel we're seeing?
I think it's almost a kind of thrumming of. I'm using my my funerary robes again. This is kind of like my one trick for this one trick pony.
Right.
She's swinging them as she runs, and it's going boom, 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 and all you just hear is this like a turbine blade coming towards him.
Yeah.
Then, yeah.
Sick. And then you hear the kind of ring type noise as the two of you meet. Instead of hearing a clang, it's like a strum.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds like trying to reach heaven through violence.
Yeah.
And I think you get to roll with heat when you use your platinum silk, right?
Yes, I do. And I'm gonna also add a die here because I want to empower this roll.
Heck yeah.
And the empowerment, I think, is a sound. I think it's just this horrible rumbling sound that happens. Like maybe we pan back to the other characters and you just hear this from just out towards the fungus men.
Yeah. Very awesome. Okay, yeah. What do you roll for that?
Sorry, that didn't roll properly. These guys need to be re-rolled. Okay, so that's that is a 10.
Very nice. You are going to deal 2 damage to this fellow, correct?
That's right. And then
do you have a tag that you wanted to apply?
Yeah, I'm just reading that out here. Yeah, it doesn't specifically say it there under that one. For now, let's just do that. Just smashing this, trying to smash this guy to pieces with the folds of my robes, like swinging left and right.
Yeah, so like a forceful tag, like you're blowing him out. So you're going to be able to basically knock this guy into a heap. You hear the sort of like discord note where, you know, you hit 3 notes that are not sounding very good together, like a brrr type noise, like a cat just jumped on a piano. He kind of rolls over onto the ground, but those fungus men swarm over him and past him and towards this melee that's happening. So they're going to, let's see here. Just want to roll some random dice. Let's go left to right. Cube, can you roll, we'll call this 2d6 for the fungus men, and tell me which each result is?
4 and 1.
Okay, so they do 4 to Jagannath's people. They only take out 1 of Solomon David's. Camellia, can you roll 3d6 for Jagannath's demons?
We got a 9.
So what is each individual die?
We have a green 3, a green 5, and a pale 1.
Okay. They take out 3 of the fungi and then 6 of the Solomon David's guys. And now if Varric will roll for Solomon David's people.
3 dice?
3 still, yep. I'm just really coming up with this math on pulling out of my butt.
I like it. I got a 4, a 2, and a 2.
Okay, take out 4 of each of Jagannath and Fungus Men. So Jagannath's people are still looking pretty strong. Harpo's troops have kind of been reduced to about half of their numbers. Solomon David, of course, is also still pretty strong, but their numbers just slightly less than Jagonoth's, so they're not on the winning team anymore. But we still have this huge fighting force. Are we still trying to dwindle numbers? What's our plan here? Let's bring it back to Cube, hear what he wants to do.
Let's see. So who's fighting Harpo?
That would be Hildy.
Hildy? Wasn't Camilla also fighting him?
Yes, they wanted to use their word against them, right?
Yeah. So I don't think it's interesting for me to go after him right now. I have a move. All right, so I have a move called Mantra of Pedem the Wanderer. You can pass unnoticed as a local in most situations. Blah blah blah. In addition, when you're in trouble or just need some additional help, you can spend a power die. And oh no, I already spent my power die, so I can't do that. I was gonna have beggars raid the party. Damn.
You can do something and push it and get a power die and maybe summon some beggars for the next round.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's my plan here. So I'm going to I'm going to try to close this book on what is still trapped on the other side of it. Pushing against me. Probably a lot of weapons are poking through the binding now, and it's starting to get torn up, but I'm just going to try to slam it shut in one final move.
Okay. So you're going to make a roll of 2d6 with no modifiers.
Yeah, because I'm pushing it.
Right. So this is a clumsy roll.
Which is an 8.
Okay. You're going to get a power die. You're going to do 2d6 damage. Or 2d6 dead people.
That'll be 8 as well.
You crush 8 people within the vice of this book of battle. And we see like blood and fungal juice, black ichor start to seep through the pages of this book of battle, halfway in between both worlds.
Specifically, it's a book of marital bliss.
Well,
right, like you said, a book of battle.
A book of battle, like you said. Awesome, and you have that power die ready. The beggars will come to your call next round. How about Camellia?
So I'm pretty peeved that my favorite walking / T-staff is snapped in half, and I'm going to say to Harpo, release them. And what I'm using is hopefully wield the old law, but possibly also branding words, which is basically give an NPC an order, and we'll see how it resolves after I roll dice.
Yes.
I got an 8.
Okay.
So on a 7-9, your target has to either do what I say or attack me. But I also have branding words, which gives me on a 7+ on Wield the Old Law, I can give one word command that my target must follow before deciding what to do. And so that's going to be, hopefully I can play it out like this, like kneel and release them.
Right.
I don't know if that's too much.
No, he'll kneel. But he's not quite yet ready to release, maybe. Pick one of those, release or kneel. If you pick release, they'll be released, but he's going to come and strike at you.
I'll take release.
Kneel. Okay.
I can defend the law of hospitality.
Yes. So you see all of these fungus men, 3 to 5 arms, right? All of a sudden, stop what they're doing. Quite a few of them are driven through by swords and axes as they're still in the middle of combat with Jagonoth and Solomon David. but many of them are backing up, running, fleeing towards the gate, trying to disperse. But when Harpo sees what you've done, he turns to you and says, "There is no worse agent of stagnant stability than an angel. I will send you back to the white flame." And he's running at you, leaping with his sword. With that 8, your mixed result is going to mean that you're exchanging blows here, right?
Okie
So he's going to deal 2 harm to you with his rapier. But if you want to, you have armor. So you can use one of your armor to just deflect that blow.
Yeah, I'm not wearing armor, so I get 2 for being a law angel. So
You're made of stone.
yeah.
But he does disturb some of your plants. Which of your part of your micro garden has been?
He gets my lemon balm. Just destroys it right out of that whole little pot. Is just gone.
That's the power of pine sol, baby. Okay. So then we come back to Varric. Solomon David's people are still engaged in a bitter battle with Jagganoth. But the interloper is currently busy. What is your plan?
Well, my goal is to live up to the legacy of the Dolomir family. And I feel like right now would be the best time to pull off a very stylish and difficult assassination.
Of whom in particular?
Well, I don't know if this is totally out of the realm of possibility, and it might be. Is Solomon David here?
It's the end of the session. I think it'd be pretty freaking cool.
I think it would also be really cool if I bombed it too. So either way, I'm down with whatever happens here.
You can establish that you're trying to assassinate Solomon David, one of the 7 tyrants, and totally upheaving the balance of peace and enthrone whatever it may be. But that's going to mean that Jagganoth is also here, and that you're turning the stakes to 11.
I mean, if neither of them were here and it was one of Solomon David's higher ups, I just want to sort of like destroy this fighting force the best way that I can, like take out whatever leadership is here.
Sure. I think that a big blow to morale would be if Abraham was taken out.
Ooh.
I think they're sort of the central figure of the Solomon David side.
Yeah.
So if we want to keep it to, platoon levels instead of battalion levels or whatever, I'm not even sure if those are the right words for military stuff, but, we could do that.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Also because, I see them as having wronged Braxis and my family in that whole thing. So I would like to do that. I would like to sort of get into position by climbing up on top of the ceiling and then make a drop from there.
So what do you roll when you totally assassinate someone whenever you want to?
Well, I have, I don't have a power die, so I can't use Mantra of Ovis and be there very close to that character. I have Close Eyes and Still Heart, but that says in order to accomplish a specific goal, accept killing. So this might just be it could either be agility or it could just be whatever the risky move is.
Sure.
Overcome.
Let's just make it overcome so that we don't have to give this fellow hit points.
Yeah.
I'm imagining probably reflex here. Or body, because that can be athleticism too. Is this about your speed and your sudden action, or is this about your physicality and your litheness and acrobatic ability? They're both kind of synonymous. You pick.
Yeah.
Whatever has a bigger number for you.
I think this would be reflex. I think like seeing me like maybe there's like some pillars up near the wall and I'm kind of just like bouncing off of them, just like doom 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 up to the ceiling, and then I just kind of scale quickly like spider-like across from the top. And then there's just this brief moment of like it's just my breath sort of, and I'm just like totally calm zenning myself. Maybe my aunt sees me like up, you know, at the top of the roof ready to make this drop sort of, and I just like go into a free fall. I just go into a free fall with my wings fluttering behind me, and I think it's just I have a needle in my hand that I'm just holding, kind of like, you know, Assassin's Creed style blade to just drop into them, and that's what I would like to do. So I'm gonna roll for that.
Yeah. Do you want to push that? Make it more risky for yourself and maybe earn a power die back, or are you happy with this action right here?
I think as much as I'd love to have another power die, I think this is my goal here. I really just want to show my family what I can do. So I'm putting everything I have into this. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll this thing.
Okay. Add your reflex then.
Do you have a die to spend?
I do not have a die to spend, but who needs it? I got a 12.
Oh, kill him. Roll 2d6. That's going to be the number of Solomon David's men that lose morale seeing this figure be assassinated and flee the scene cowering.
Yeah, so I think I put the needle, you know, I sort of land on top in a crumple, put the needle right between like the vertebrae in their back, just like, you know, separate his spine basically, and I rolled a 6. So maybe that horrifying sight is enough to scare some people off.
Indeed. Still going strong though, but less so. Finally, back to Hildy again. We have more and more of Solomon David's men falling to the blades of Jagganoth. But you see at the time, Harpo has, you know, stuck his pointy rapier into our angel and is disturbing his garden. And you know very well that angel does not like it when people disturb their gardens.
It's against the rules.
So here's your chance to uphold the old law and redeem yourself.
Cool. I unlash my belt and run at this guy and kind of try to jump over him, garrote him while I kind of just wrestle him down.
Yeah, is this you trying to finally finish him off and deal your killing blow, basically?
I mean, if I can.
Okay, so this is probably reach heaven through violence, I imagine.
Yeah, let's take this guy down.
And since you're using, again, your clothing, that's going to be with heat. And I'll even let you empower this die as the last time that you traded blows with this fellow, you sent him reeling.
Okay. If that's empowered, then I have a 9.
Oh, so it's going to be just enough to kind of take the music out of his throat, right? You hear the humming and strumming go silent. You have an opportunity here to end his life, or at the very least to knock him out. What do you decide to do?
Ooh. Do we need to have a quick tone conversation, or like action comic fun times? Because I see a thumbs down from Fowler over there. Okay, I'm gonna
do what you want, but it's not gonna bother me.
Okay. Well, this guy.
Did I take it too dark with the garrote? Let's.
Yeah, I wonder.
Let's say you dispatch him combatively.
I think I twist up the fabric of it and just twist and twist and twist until his eyes are bulging and some of his little strings snap. And yeah, he just stops moving.
Okay. I will reel back from my bloodthirst for this Harpo, the interloper fellow. He is for now not contributing further to the fight. So that 8. I'm trying to decide what I want to have happen, what I want the situation to get more complicated because of that. What do you think this costs? Hildy as she engages in this.
I sully my clothing, so now it is no longer considered fine, and I can't use it for fighting anymore. So in so doing, I'm popping stitches, and like he's struggling and tearing pieces off, and it's just I no longer can use my fine clothing as a weapon.
Very well. Okay. So Harpo's soldiers have dispersed, and they're no longer in this fight and fighting anyone. Jagannath, Varric, will you roll 3d6 to see how much he does to Solomon David's people? And Camellia, if you'll roll 2d6 for Solomon David's to see how much they do in response.
It's a 4, 4, and a 3, so 11 total.
Okay.
I rolled a 6 and a 5, so that's 11 total.
Okay. So there's a lot of fighting that's been going on here. Solomon David's soldiers are starting to get closer to being halfway defeated. I think if they reach that far, that they would disperse. But there's still a lot of casualties happening on both sides. Are we trying to end the fight decisively through martial ability? Is this when we're going to try to bring back a reasonable outcome here? What is Cube thinking?
Well,
have the beggars at his disposal now.
Yeah, I think Cube had always he had always intended to try to end this without violence, and I mean maybe not with he certainly didn't predict that this was going to happen. I mean, the wedding seemed like a good way to do that, but maybe his contacts with the lesser people. We had earlier. I had gained a large wealth in the food bank, and maybe I had spent a lot of that to sort of prepare this surprise. And I think at this point, a lot of my friends and fellow beggars arrive on the scene, fully dressed out in actors' costumes to play out this big romantic play, right? And maybe this is love in the air, why the occasion for romance and stuff. Maybe that affects people. At the very least, I've got a bunch of friends on my side suddenly.
So, are you putting
I'd love to try to bend wills with this.
Yes, I love it. So basically, I'll call this Overcome with Heat, and I'll still have you roll your 2d6. That'll be the number of people that you think are moved enough to, disengage from the fight and leave the zone. How's that sound?
Okay.
But you're using a power die, right, to bring your beggars into the situation. So you're going to roll 3d6.
Oh, well, I mean, things got a bit more heated than they were when this plan started. So that is a total of 5.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh. This is a very rousing battle cry, is how, again, we have a little bit of a altering of perspective here. This performance is kind of being channeled through a prism, so to speak, in the heat of battle. So this is going to be another free round of Jagannath and Solomon David combat. So let's give me another 3 for Jagannath, another 2 for Solomon David. Things don't quite go your way. While you're working on that, what is Camellia trying to do?
Oh, for Jagannath.
Yeah, sorry. I need my coffee, buddy. So I had rolled a 9. I thought I was rolling again for the Solomon David set. I think that what I would do is...
You rolled a 9 for Solomon David's damage?
Yeah.
I could do that.
I think that this is all very confusing, and this is the kind of stuff that in the days of yore I had the faculties to deal with and enough servants to manage that. And not having those is why I've kind of become more hedonistic. And I think that I would calculate what I need and what I want. And I'd grab that old baboon who said he has a boon for me and offers me something, and just like try to squirrel him away from the combat.
Okay, so you're leaving with your boonie.
Yes.
Your booner, I guess, is the term we're using for this one. We're coming up with interesting ways to conjugate the term boon. Okay, I'm going to call this just overcome, probably with reflex, right? To try to do this quickly to extricate yourself from the situation.
All right, let me take a look into what my reflex is. I believe it's actually something. Yeah, +1.
Cool.
And it doesn't matter because I got a 5.
Okay.
So I imagine that I go to like swoop in on him, and he takes whatever weapon he's been holding, like some ancestral family weapon, and just slices me. And I take a serious, grievous wound. And I'm like, nope, I'm going.
Yeah.
My quest for coffee has been destroyed once again.
Yes. I think I would imagine would be him doing some damage towards you using that second piece of armor you have. So your garden is jacked up. But you've decided here this is your point to make like a tree and leave. So that was horrible. Varric, save me from this terrible joke. Give me another awesome ninja bit of action here. What are you doing now that Solomon David's numbers are reduced almost to half?
Well, I don't know if I'm one for peaceful de-escalation here.
Technically, if you kill more people, they'll stop fighting.
That sounds like my strategy, and that sounds like the only thing I've ever really known how to do. So maybe I see my aunt being like surrounded by like a big guard gang of these ape priests, and I've just swooped down and put a needle into this guy's neck, and I think I might like immediately look up, all my eyes kind of darting around and assess that threat, and I would want to kind of jump over and just kind of leap over and land in the middle of the circle with my aunt, and then just the two of us kind of back to back just unleash on this crowd of goons.
Yeah, roll with body here as you reach heaven through violence.
I think I will push this roll just in case I get another one after to power die on. So
all right,
let's do it.
Always fun to do if you don't have a modifier anyway.
Well, I did have a modifier, but this does not help me. That is a 5.
Oh my goodness. This is not going well for you and your aunt.
No.
I'm not going to
do it.
Kill Aunt Chinky because she's so cool.
Do it.
All right. Yeah, unfortunately, you're not able to save her. Roll 2d6 to see how many casualties occur on Jagannath's side as Solomon David's people rally themselves, knowing that one of these people is your aunt.
I have rolled a 4 total.
Well, that's not so bad. They only managed to take out 3 others, but that seems to steady their resolve, and they're still clinging on, even though their numbers have been reduced to almost half. Hildy, more death on both sides, more water flowing down the current, more blood dripping down these tables. What do you do?
I stand there looking menacing at any remaining fungoids. Fungoids?
Yeah, there's maybe like a couple like cowering under tables, right? Like haven't managed to get back to the gate yet.
Yeah, I basically want to just shoo them away in the most intimidating way possible.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna, see that terrible look in your eyes. The person who brainwashed them was defeated by you, so you must be even more powerful of a wizard. And whatever remaining force is left kind of scampers back towards the gate. So now it's just the two less innocent parties here at war. What do you do with that even battlefield?
Cool. I draw my spear and begin walking up. What does it look like the party has decided is like the way to go? Is it get on board with Jagannath and get rid of these Solomon David?
I think
folk,
we're
or-
pretty divided, actually.
Cube has been trying his darndest to just keep things calm. He tried to have a beautiful play that ended up making people angry. Camellia has decided to extricate themselves from this situation entirely.
I just feel like Hildy's song is the prophetic voice of this night.
Yep. She ruined it.
She
You done
foresaw
jinxed
how
it.
she's like, yes, no, this isn't wedding, this is death. Death is coming. As
It's all
everyone's
downhill from
lifeblood
there.
flows back to the water.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
They just killed Varric's aunt, so I think we
Yeah,
might know where he stands.
yeah, killing Varric's aunt's not cool.
I think what happened there basically is I was going crazy with my 49 empty palms and shooting force everywhere, and I kind of overstepped and knocked her off balance a little bit, and they were able to take that opportunity to end her. So I think it was a
It was
little bit my
your
fault.
fault. Oh,
Ooh.
no.
Okay, well, I'll try to avenge that death then and try to take out whoever it was that attacked the ant.
Okay. Yeah, now you're just rolling with body, right? But we're going to be trying to affect Solomon David's retinue. So
Yep.
roll that.
I'm going to roll it broken,
Oh boy.
if I may.
Fully broken.
Yep.
You're trying to push it and earn another power die, we're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got a 7 on that.
Oh, not bad. Okay.
Broken is no modifiers, right?
Well, technically clumsy, but
Or sorry, clumsy.
and when you did your last move that was a failure for Varric, was that a push as well? Trying to
Yes.
remember. I think it was.
Yeah.
So I
yeah, you
did
gave
we
me
have a
another
break die. I'll keep that in mind.
one. Yeah, you should have so many break dice.
Okay, so you are going to be able to exchange blows with these vicious 8 priests with their Shaolin spades. You know, there's only one of you. And while you're still very graceful, despite your tattered clothing, they're starting to kind of circle you and overwhelm you. But go ahead. We're going to exchange damage. You're going to take 2 harm, and you're going to roll 2d6 to see how many you take out of these goons.
Just to clarify, am I getting no bonus, or am I rolling 3 dice and selecting the lowest 2?
2 with no bonus.
2 with no bonus. My bonus is negative, so we're gonna ignore the negative. So I'm taking harm either way. I'm just curious whether or not I get to fight back a little bit.
Yeah.
It seems to only help me if I've got a negative bonus. We can have bonuses.
That's an interesting point.
How about I'll just take harm. I'll take damage.
Yeah, I have no idea with the negative modifier. I think that part of the thing is that when you push a roll and make it clumsy, is that if you do fail, I get a break die, which means I get to make one of your dice broken, which is rolling with disadvantage as opposed to no modifiers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a good thing to clarify. But you're just going to full on take damage here and not take any out, is the idea?
Yeah, I'll just take damage. That makes more sense based on that roll and the fact that I have a negative. So
yeah. And I don't.
Damage?
I think that this clothing is no longer counting as armor for you either. So unless you have any other armor, that's going straight to your stamina.
No, I'm getting whacked. I fall over and I've got blood coming out from seeping out from my folds of my robe.
Okay, 2d6 for both Jagannath and Solomon David's people. They're starting to get to an even footing here. We're getting close, though, because I see it's 10 o'clock, and I want to wrap this up. So
Shall I roll for Jagannath's people?
go ahead.
That's an 11.
Okay. Wow.
Go team.
Yeah. And for How many do we see Jagganoth losing? It's a once a roll for Solomon David.
I will do it.
Cool. It's so gauche for me to touch the dice in a PBTA game, you know.
Agreed. That's a 6.
Only 6. Okay. Not so bad. So the numbers have finally dwindled to the point where Solomon David's people lose morale. Right? They disengage from this fight, leaving Hildy kind of battered and bruised on the ground, her clothing all torn apart. Cube, your poor beggars are sort of bullied and pushed and shoved out of the way. As their set is like torn apart by this exodus, right? And Varric, you're surrounded by all of these demons heartily cheering while you're still cradling the lifeless body of your aunt, right? Camellia, you've gained some distance from this, but you can start to see some apes are kind of running alongside you as well, as if they've broken away from the fight. War is coming to Throne. This was just the first battle. Jagganoth feels empowered and angry. Solomon David is going to be on the recovery. Can we do a quick epilogue here? Just want to see what everyone does with this upcoming battle. Whether you're joining the fight or trying to find peace where you can. Let's start with Cube.
I think Cube would probably just try to, gather up his friends and anyone else who wanted to come and sort of retreat into one of those portals, maybe even the portal at the wedding, since it's sort of like maybe a neutral ground now, or maybe Jagganoth takes it, but it's if it seems safer than any others. I mean, it's probably anywhere safer than the streets of Throne. And yeah, just leading as many people as he can through there, and trying to protect them.
Interesting. I could see that being challenged by Solomon David in the future. But for now, you're able to find quiet and solace for your people. How about Camellia? Do you find your coffee?
I think that Camellia finds itself running with Solomon David's people and is conflicted because this really wasn't, it didn't have a dog in this pony. But there's that temptation, or, dog in the race. There's this temptation, like maybe it can find a way to get that coffee. So he's going to go along with the Solomon David people and just try to find themselves. And this really kind of crushes what's left of its dignity. It's got no garden. And maybe he can just become a servant to the head of this family in exchange for, the last bit of identity it has left, which is to find that damn coffee.
Gotta have my coffee. I get it. I get that urge. Varric, where do we see you in the upcoming war?
I think that we see meeting we see like a grand hall, lots of blues and golds and purples, and a wide sort of like marble table maybe, and we see Solomon David sitting at the head with sort of like a council of advisors around and some other like warrior types. And I think he's reading a poem That's sort of like a ritual at the beginning of a battle or something. It's something that he would read to kind of just inspire his people. And I think that like a champion comes up to him, maybe just like a large elephant-looking warrior with 4 arms and stuff and like weapons in every hand, and kneels before him and gets like a blessing from this poem. And then I think we see like, you know, the meeting adjourned, the warrior walks out into a hallway, and then we kind of just, the camera like zooms out a little bit and we see Varric just like hanging from the ceiling and just kind of like scuttles around behind the doorway and getting ready to follow and do this person in.
Sick. Varric's like spidery antics.
I was going to say, yeah.
Awesome this entire time. And finally, Hildy, have you regained your composure?
As much as one can with sullied garments. I think Hildy just watches. It's kind of fade to black with Hildy just watching this chaos play out. Not clear whether she escapes this world or not.
That's our kind of parting shot, huh?
I suppose so. War is coming to throne.
Yeah, indeed it is. And that is why the worlds are broken.
Broken!
Thank you all so much. I had so much fun.
Yeah, thanks I had a good time. I hope I didn't talk too much, but
everybody talked just enough.
Yes.
I'm going to move us to do some feedback if you're available. So I'm going to end the broadcast now.